Today I'm working with ON1 PHOTO RAW 2022. The title of this episode is Transformation. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I hope everyone is doing great out there. Thanks for joining me again today. I thought I would do another flower full edit. This one's called Transformation because I'm going to use some different tools inside of PHOTO RAW 2022 today and give a whole new look to this image. Well, let's jump right in. Hey, and by the way, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and click that bell notification icon. And please leave comments and questions. I would really love to hear from you. But let's get started here. The first thing I like to do is come down to noise and sharpening, and I'm just going to click on No Noise AI, and this does a really great job here. It zooms your image into 100%. This is shot with the Canon 40D, so the file size is not incredibly large. That's why it doesn't look like it got super large here. I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. But let's zoom way in so you can really see the noise. Now, the image on the right of this bar is with the noise reduction. The image on the left, you can see the noise. This was shot at ISO 1600. So you can see there's a lot of noise in there. But the other thing I want to do is, and I love this enhanced detail slider, is just drag this to the right a little bit and just enhance some of that detail. I think right around there. And that's good. And that's all I have to do. I'm just going to go ahead and click apply. I'm going to leave my sharpening at 20, the default setting. And I feel that's fine. That's all I really need. And I'm going to click apply. And now I'm going to go into tone and color. Now, one thing I do want to say, for this particular camera, the lens profile is not in there for lens correction. So I'm not going to touch anything there. The image looks okay, so we'll just leave that alone. Now, as far as a camera profile, if you click right here, right now it's on the ON1 standard, you see different profiles in here from ON1 as well as from your camera. But you also have a linear profile, and as you all know, if you watch my videos, how much I love linear profiles. When I'm working in Lightroom, I always like to use a linear profile. But guess what? ON1 gives you a linear profile, and I think that's really great. Thanks, ON1, for that. I'm going to try linear profile this time, so let's click on it. You'll notice that the image looks a lot duller, but I'm actually seeing basically what the raw file actually looks like, and I think that's a great starting point. So I like to take it down to the best starting point that I can get it. And this way, all the editing is totally up to me. Now, I do like to try AI match, so let's click on AI match. This shows you what your image would look like on the LCD screen of your camera when you first take the image. It matches that look. Now, when using the linear profile, it would look a lot duller looking. So let's go back up to the ON1 standard. That's basically what it would look like in the back of my camera on the LCD screen. But I'm again going to linear raw. But let's try AI auto. This is where ON1 is using its artificial intelligence to give you a nice starting point. Now, I never take this just the way it is. I will make some alterations. This auto slider is nice, and watch all these sliders. This is not an opacity slider, and I pointed this out in my last video. But if I pull this back, watch all those sliders. They move in little increments, which is kind of nice. And I'm going to pull this back to around here, which is a good starting point. Now let me see if I want to make some other alterations here. And by the way, here's another nice feature of ON1 software, and that is you can change the size of these sliders. You can widen them out, so you can widen them out that much and really get some really fine tuning. Okay, so if you feel like when you're moving the sliders, you're not getting the fine tuning that you like, you can drag this to the left and make this larger, and these sliders give you like a wider throw, which is kind of a nice feature, and I really like that. But I'm going to pull mine into about here. But maybe jot that down as a note and keep that. You may need that at some point down the line. I think I may want to lighten up the midtones. I love this midtone slider. It's only dealing with the midtones, but a lot of software doesn't have this, and I mentioned this on my last tutorial, so I really think this is great. So there's that, and I think my white and black point is looking pretty good. I may drag my black point a little bit to the right, just to lighten it up a little bit, because I want to get a nice sunshiny feel here with these beautiful yellow flowers here. And I shot this with a macro lens, and I got some nice soft bokeh in the background. And as far as the white balance temperature and tint. I like it. I'm going to leave it the way it is. I'm not going to touch structure or haze. I may give it just a little bit more vibrance. Just a tiny little bit of vibrance, and I think that's nice. And you also have this purity down here, which is a nice slider. Purity for highlights and shadows. And basically, if you hover over this, it tells you reduces the color saturation of the highlights to remove a color cast. So if you're getting some kind of a weird color cast in your highlights or shadows, if you drag these sliders to the right, you'll remove that color cast. You'll basically be reducing the saturation on the highlights and the shadows. So that is a nice slider. I don't think I need it here, but again, remember that it's something you may need at some point. I'm going to try to pull the highlights back a little bit. Some of these areas are a little bit light in here. Let me see if I can reduce some of that by pulling back on the highlights. Yeah, I think that tames that down a little bit. I like that. Now you'll notice I have these spent leaves here. They're brown on the bottom, and that's kind of ugly, but I'm going to show you a really cool way of taking care of that, and we're going to do that with effects. So let's go ahead and open up effects, and we'll click on add filter. Now, what kind of filter can I use? Well, I'm going to come to the search bar and type color, because I know I want to change the color of that brown. I'm going to see if I can transform this brown into this green color, okay? So let's see what we can do. So there is color. And we have all these different color type filters in here. Color adjustment, color balance, color enhancer, photo filter. I did try photo filter and it gave me pretty decent results, but not quite the results that I wanted. But the one that I really liked was replace color. So let's click on replace color. Now you'll notice we have a target color and a color change. Let's pick a target color. You have this little picker tool. Right now it's on blue, right? So click the picker tool. And we want to change the color on this brown area in here. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here. Now, we may have to do this in several passes, but you notice there is that color right there. And now color range is set for that same color, but let's go ahead. Let me bump up the saturation. And you can see the area that has been targeted is right here. It hasn't gotten this area here, but you also have a color range that you can pull this and see if that broadens out any. It doesn't broaden out too much. So I'm just going to take it to right here. I'm going to have to do this in stages. This is going to be the first stage. So now I want to alter this color. I'm going to go ahead and pull the saturation back to about here, just to match the saturation level on this part of the leaf. And now let's take the hue and we just drag it and see if I can find that color. And I think somewhere right around there looks good. Now we can adjust the saturation level. I might bring it back a little bit, but then we have brightness as well, so we can like lighten that up a little bit. So I'm going to lighten that color up. I think it's too strong, so let me pull it back. Yeah, that seems to be matching up right around in there. Okay, so that's step one. But let me zoom in, and if you'll notice, it's affecting other areas of the image. Like if you look over here, see this green on here? Watch when I shut this filter off. See, it's putting that little green area around there. Well, we don't want that. Let's turn this filter back on, and I'm just going to click and it'll reset it to fit the screen. So we need to mask this in. So let's come up here and get a mask. Come to the masking options and click right here. And what we want to do is invert this, and that hides that adjustment. And right now I'm set to the mask brush, and right now it's set to paint out. I'm going to change that to paint in. I'm at 100% opacity, flow at 100%, and feathering at 100%. I'm just going to come in here and paint that on. Just like that. And I can paint all over here because I know it's only going to get certain areas. Okay, so like that. Now that's step one. Now we can stack up filters. So let's come back to add filter and let's get another replace color filter. And let's do the same thing. Grab that targeted tool and now let's click in this area here. And let's bump up the saturation so we can see the area that it's going to cover. Now it's going to cover all this area. It's going to miss this a little bit, but we'll see. We may have to get one more when we're done with this one. Now let's change the hue to get it as close to that color as we can get. Maybe right around in there. And let's play with the brightness. Something like that. Maybe I'm still oversaturated. Maybe right around there. And you know what? That's getting that pretty nicely. So let's go ahead and add another layer mask by clicking here, inverting it. And now with our brush again, we're still on paint in. So let's paint that in. And just like that, we can take that old brown dead leaf and turn it into a new leaf. Okay, which is kind of really nice. So there we go. Now I forgot this one over here. This is another one. Let's see if I can paint this in on this one. And when I paint here, I see not much is happening here. So I may need another filter for that. So let's go ahead and click Add Filter. Let's get another Replace Color. And let's do the same thing with the targeted tool. Let's click right in here, pull up our saturation just so we can see where we're getting. Yeah, we're getting all that area in there. So that's nice. Let's change the hue. Maybe somewhere around there. That's too much saturation. Let's pull it back. Maybe right around there. Let's work with the brightness somewhere right around in there. Let's go ahead and get another mask, invert it. And now we're going to paint this on just like that. Missed that little area right there. Let's grab another filter, replace color, get our target tool. Let's click right here. Let's see what area that affects. Pull up our saturation. And this is a good little tip so you can really see the area that it's going to affect, okay? And now we're going to change the hue, get it close, and it's way too much saturation. So we'll pull it back to match. And let's adjust the brightness. Maybe somewhere around there. Let me make sure I got that looking. I want that to blend in really nice. And that's looking really good. Let's go ahead and put another mask on it, and we'll invert it. And we'll go ahead and paint in here now. I'm going to get up in here. Yeah, it gets that little area up in there. Now that looks a little bit off. So is it need brighter? No, it needs less brightness. Maybe right around there. Let's play with the saturation. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to add one more. I know it takes a few steps. It's not that hard to do. Add filter. Let's get another replace color, grab the targeted tool, and click right down in here. And let's bump up the saturation right around there. And now let's change the hue, blend it in. Let's check the brightness level, bring it back. Right around there. It's a little too much saturation, so I'm just going to pull it back. But take your time and get it right. It's a little rough when you're doing a video sometimes. I may not get 100% perfect. But let me go ahead and invert this, and let's go ahead and paint this on right here. And just like that, we've now restored those leaves. This looks really good, but I think I can do better. So I'm going to grab a local adjustment here. It defaults with the darken mode here where it pulls the exposure back. I think I may have to darken that up a little bit, but right now we have a black hide all mask. And with my brush in the paint in mode, I'm just going to paint. Now it's probably going to be too dark, but I'm just going to paint over this whole area. I just want to see if I can touch this up. I'm going to work on this one first and this one second, just to make sure I get this right. I think it looks good, a little bit darker. Now we also have other adjustments in here, like we have a mid-tone adjustment. We could play with that, see if we want to lighten that mid-tone area up. And I think maybe a little bit here. Now let's take a look at the, we have temperature and tint. So I may just make this, let's see if I go towards green. I don't know, right there, like a -1 looks pretty good. And let's check the saturation. Does it need more saturation, less saturation? Maybe a little less. I think that looks better. Now let's play with this exposure. Do we want to lighten it? No, I don't want it too light. I may darken it up a little bit. Maybe right around there. Let me check the tint one more time. I think right there. Let me check the exposure. I think right there looks pretty natural. Let me also just check the mid-tone. I may lighten up the mid-tone just a little touch. Yeah, and I think I'm happy with that. And let me check the saturation one more time. Right there, I'm good. Now we're going to tackle this one. Let's add another local adjustment. I'll just leave the exposure right where it is, and I'm just going to paint over this. It's going to probably get too dark. Just paint over that like that. Now let's adjust the exposure. Maybe right about there. Let's check the midtones out. Okay, there. How about the saturation? I'll pull the saturation back a little bit. I think that's looking pretty good. And let's check the tint. And I think right there, I think I'm happy with that. I did promise a transformation that's coming up very shortly, but I'm just in flower photography, and this is my specialty. It's very important to clean the image up and get it looking the best you can. And that was what we did now. But then I have this little deal right here. I think I can fix it. Let me go ahead and zoom into this area. I'm just using my trackpad to zoom in. And I'm going to go and click on retouch and grab that perfect eraser. Make my brush a little smaller with my left bracket key. And let me see if I can just paint with the perfect eraser. I just love that name, perfect eraser. And I think it is aptly titled. Let's see what it does. Yeah, it cleans that right up. I may just clean this little piece up right here. Maybe try this again. Yeah, that's looking good. One more time. Haha, I like, oh, here's another one over here. I don't like this. Come on, perfect eraser. And maybe one more time right there. Thank you, perfect eraser. Let me go ahead and zoom back out. And now we're ready for the fun stuff. So now we're going to come back to effects. I'm going to click add filter and I'm going to use a sun flare. This is really a great filter for flower photography. So let's click on sun flare. And there's a sun flare I want, and it's this one right here. Now, if you click on more, you'll see a bunch of different ones there. And if you open up your presets and filters by clicking that icon and click on filters, you can see some of the different, well, actually, you see, I think all of these that are represented here, over here, and you can kind of see. And you can also click right here, and then you can see the thumbnails a lot larger. But I think I want to use the one called Sun Flare, which is this one right here. So let's click on that. And there's my sun flare. Now, it's in the wrong position. I'm going to go ahead and hide this presets and filters by clicking this icon again. And now we can take this transform tool and click on that, and we can take this and move it. And I want to move it maybe right around there. Now we can also take the scale and make it larger. So I'm going to bump this up, and then I'm going to grab that transform again and just pull this down. Yeah, see, I want that nice, what I'm looking for is a nice glow right up in here. Okay, so you have scale, you can make it larger, you have transform to move it around, and you can also like rotate it, you can flip it vertically or horizontally, but that's the way I want it. Now, it may be a little too strong in this flower, but we'll use some masking to take care of that. But we also have this sunshine amount, so let's take this and drag it to the right. Do we want to lighten it up? And I think I do. I want to lighten it up just a little bit. Somewhere right around in there, and then we can adjust the warmth. We can make it warmer by dragging this to the right. We can make it cooler by dragging it to the left. And I'm thinking maybe right there, and then there's saturation. We can give it more saturation or less. And I think right there. Check this out though. Here's the before and here's the after. But isn't that a cool transformation? Now I want to take it off this flower, like I said. Some of it, not all of it. So I'll click on the layer mask icon and I want to paint out. Right now it's on paint in, so let's switch this to paint out. And I'm going to adjust my opacity down. Right now it's at 100%. I'm going to take it down to like 20%, somewhere right around there. Okay? Make my brush larger with my right bracket key. Feathering is at 100, opacity is at 20, as I said, and flow's at 100. So let me just take some of that off of here, just a little wee bit. Because I just want to draw some attention here. I don't want it quite as hot. Okay, here's the before and here is the after. Some of these lighter areas I'm not happy with, so I'm going to take care of that with a photo filter. I'm going to click on add filter. Let's grab a photo filter. Now we have this blue photo filter. You can see by this swatch here. I want to warm this up, so let's drag the hue and warm this up. Maybe somewhere right around in there, and it's over the entire image right now, but we can take care of that. Let's click on the layer mask icon and invert that. And now I'm going to have a brush with an opacity of 100%. I want a little bigger brush. I'll use my right bracket key to make that brush a little larger and paint over these areas. Down in here, down in here. I'm going to come up in here and paint some of that in this entire area. Right around here. Now, it's too strong right at this point. So what I'll do is take the overall opacity and start to drag this back just to blend it in. Again, I just want to tone these areas a little differently. I didn't like the way they were looking. Maybe I'll take it back. Right there, I think looks good. Now, Here is the before and here's the after, and I really think that helps it up. I feel I need to warm this up just a little bit more. I think right there. Here is the before and here is the after, and I think that blends better and it looks good. I'm going to go ahead and click on retouch because this area right here I don't like. I'm going to get the magic eraser and see if I can get rid of this yellow flower because it's bothering me. I'll make my brush a little bit bigger with my right bracket key and paint over this area. Yeah, and it did a perfect job and I'm happy with that. That was bugging me over there. Here's my overall before and here's my after. So I think it's quite a transformation. I have one more job for the perfect eraser and that is right here. I'm going to go ahead and just see if I can clean that up. Paint across there, and yes, it's done a great job. And I think for now I'm done. It's pretty much a finished edit. I could always come back and add to it if I need to, so I'm just going to go ahead and click done. And now we can see our image back in the library module, and if I hold the shift key down and type my F key, now we're in the full screen preview mode, and I like this mode so we can really see the final result and decide if we're happy or not. Well, there it is. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon. Then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And I'll see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.